Welcome back to Speak Pact. Thrilled you're with us today. You are going to walk away with real life executable strategies that will propel your speaking career. And that is through the power of LinkedIn. I have Nigel Cliffe with us here today. He is an expert in this area, and we are going to dive into the wonders of kind of this lesser used platform for the most part, LinkedIn. Welcome to the stage, Nigel.
Thank you very much indeed for having me. I really appreciate being here. Looking forward to sharing as much wisdom as I can share in 45 minutes.
Well, you are definitely a recognized leader in the world of LinkedIn. You have created a massive following of your own. What was it along the way that caught your attention about this platform in particular?
I think to tell that story correctly, I probably have to go back to the beginning. Um, in a previous business I had, we were a software development company with a client base at a much higher level in industry than we were. We were a small company. We were looking to sort of connect with the Amazons of the world. Um, and so therefore there's a big gap between sort of the peer groups that we were typically involved in and those we wanted to be talking to. So I began sort of playing on LinkedIn, which I'd had for a few years. And I decided that, this could be a good place to sort of find people and then perhaps reach out to them, to then follow up with an introduction. And do you know what? As long ago as 12, 13 years ago, I had some quite good success doing it. And one thing led to another, and I found myself using a similar formula and a process. And the trigger point, I guess, was when some of those clients began to say to me, Nigel, that was really interesting how you did that. Could you come and show us what you did? And I went, well, this is a new thing. I've never done this before. And I began to put a little slide deck together. And I thought, yeah, there is a process. There is a method of doing this. My background was sales and marketing, so it wasn't distinctly different in many respects from what I'd done in the past. And before I knew it, it was in demand. I turned that into a brand called Value Exchange. And within 6 months of having turned it into a brand, it became a business on its own. So I sort of divulged my shareholding to a group of people I was working with and say, hey, look, guys, I'm really enjoying doing this over there. Do you mind if I scoot and do this LinkedIn training thing? And they were glad to get rid of me. No, not really. And one thing led to another. And here we are, sort of nearly 12 years later. Me now having done LinkedIn training for certainly 10 plus years of that time. So it was by using it as a tool to build relationships, to start building trust in the early journey of a sales platform that allowed me to connect and reach out and build trust by engaging with people, by sharing valuable knowledge on the platform. So that's really got what got me into this, what I'm doing now, and I thoroughly love changing people's lives through LinkedIn to help them achieve their goals.
Fabulous. And what I love too is you've seemed to hone in on the lesser obvious utilization of LinkedIn. I think a lot of people recognize LinkedIn as being the place where you can make some corporate connections, maybe elevate your career, elevate your connections, which can elevate what you're trying to accomplish in your job role, whatever it might be. But not as many people see the real power behind it when you're elevating your voice, right? As a speaker, an author, a thought leader. I think traditionally, correct me if I'm wrong, because I definitely haven't been doing this um, social network world for 12 years at the level that you have. But in just my journey, my now nearly 30 years of journey in the event production and then now speaker acceleration world, as a producer and then now an agency owner, I have seen that whereas maybe what used to be Twitter was the place to go and rub elbows with media professionals and event organizers and that kind of thing, since X came along and it's kind of lost its identity, all of that seems to me to have moved over to LinkedIn. And this is really, it's an undivided hub now, where it was kind of divided in this industry, in this space, between maybe what was Twitter and LinkedIn. It feels like now it really is all LinkedIn. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, but if you're going to focus somewhere, this needs to be it. Am I right when it comes to speakers, authors, thought leaders, those kinds of
I think
professions?
there's a lot of truth in what you've said. A lot of truth in what you've said. And whether LinkedIn is a replacement for Twitter, probably not as people perceive Twitter or X to have been. But I think LinkedIn offers an extended platform, which in a sense you can tailor more to your needs. And I perhaps need to dig a little bit deeper on this one, Antoniette, just to explain it. So what happens on LinkedIn is, well, first out, many people describe LinkedIn as a place that's becoming like Facebook. And
Mm.
I know instantly when people talk about it in that way that they're not utilizing LinkedIn in the right way, because they're not engaging with the algorithm on LinkedIn enough to be getting the right experience that they deserve, that is relevant for their marketplace. So I obviously I discount that comment straight away. So you're not using LinkedIn enough because LinkedIn doesn't understand you yet. So once you actually do two things on LinkedIn, and I'll explain what both of them are, but the second of which is start engaging on the platform with relevant content that's benefiting you, that you're learning from. And when you're sharing content of your own through posting, newsletter, etc., or when you're commenting on other people's valuable posts, then the algorithm very quickly catches up with understanding, I understand what Nigel wants. He's in the world of marketing, he's in the world of sales, he's in the world of lead generation, building trust with an audience of the future. And then the algorithm fine tunes the display, the homepage feed that you begin to get, they have the experience of. And not many people grasp this really important part of LinkedIn, that it's only when you engage that the algorithm can actually kick in and then give you an experience that's highly relevant to your interests. And you can serve that algorithm by yourself posting about relevant content that serves your industry needs, that's valuable to your audience, that's sharing your experiences, displaying your knowledge, your expertise. Without overtly selling by doing so, you're really getting in front of a large audience of people who are really interested in what you have to say, because they too are being influenced by the algorithms, where they show an interest in the things that you've got, and therefore the algorithms are kind of matching like types together by those who've got something to say about a topic, and equally those who are interested about that topic. It stands to reason, doesn't it? Because LinkedIn wants you on that platform for as long as they can have your eyeballs. That's the metric of LinkedIn, like any social media platform, of course. So the more interesting and relevant they can make their platform to you and your time spent on it, the more you will come back to the platform. But you have a big hand in that by actually displaying some strategy around your content engagement. Then you can really begin to influence those algorithms to get you a good experience too, and simultaneously put you in front of a really highly engaged and interesting audience. And what happens then over a period of time, and this can happen within a matter of a couple of months, really, but certainly 3, 6, 9 months and beyond, you create a community of interest around what you do. And once LinkedIn's algorithms understands you to the extent that it will become so, then you're just on a journey of further exploration of good things happening by maintaining momentum, by being engaged and active a little every day. I would argue, you don't need to set time aside in your diary. I don't need 30 minutes here and 2 hours there. Just by bobbing onto LinkedIn, between a coffee, on the commute, just 10 minutes here and there on LinkedIn really, really serves you well, because that gives you the opportunity to engage and comment, look at your homepage feed, interact with other people's content, which is a hugely powerful and undervalued feature of LinkedIn. The power of engaging with your target market's content, okay, is like, I call it being in their digital peripheral vision. Okay, what do I mean? Well, you're kind of on their circuit. You're in their space. Just the fact that you're commenting and actually reacting to what they're posting about, when you do it multiple times over a long period of time, when you're embracing that target audience's interest sector, then you're kind of in that space, and suddenly you become a welcome visitor in that space because your face is seen around quite a bit. It's like turning up at the bar. If you go in there once, you're a stranger, but by the time you've been 10 times, you're kind of comfortable. People are comfortable with you. It all relaxes a little bit, and off we go. It's very similar on LinkedIn. You're building up that community of interest that are interested in you. You're engaging with them. You're like a new friend on the block. And when you get this right, it just serves you and serves you and serves you. Right. I'm going to keep talking for a second. So let me explain, because I said that was the second part of an engagement strategy to make LinkedIn really work for you. So engagement and activities, that second part. The first part, which is highly essential before we really do the second, is this. It's to optimize your own LinkedIn profile. And many people fail to do that. They miserably fail to do it, which means that they're letting themselves down. The algorithms are not sure what they're interested in. People come looking, and I liken it to they're looking in at your shop window when they visit your profile. If you haven't optimized and maximized your profile, and if you cannot say, I am proud of my profile, then you've some work to do. You really have got some work to do, because you might be encouraging people in through good content and engagement, but they come to look at your profile, it's not clear what you do. It's an old sort of profile picture. They're confused. The sections are not complete. You haven't done an about section. You haven't optimized the headline. You've got a poor background that isn't clear about what it is you offer. All of it, and I'll run through these things perhaps a little more detail. But basically, if you haven't spent that time to keep up to date your profile, then you're letting opportunities come in the front door to exit via the back door. So those are the two, at the very high level, those are the two key things you need to do. Optimize your profile, people, and algorithms. And then secondly, engage on the platform. And if you do those two things well, I guarantee anybody who studies that and wants to go through a longer journey of actually how that works, I guarantee success on the back of it. I really do. It's possible for anybody in any industry sector, on any topic, education, health, manufacturing, you name it, anywhere in the world, it's possible to make LinkedIn a part of your toolkit that will help you be successful too.
Wow. Okay, that was a power 8 minutes. There was so much there. I'd like to unpack just a few of these pieces, but just right there in the first 8 minutes, guys, our beautiful Speak Packed audience, you have enough to go and start implementing just in Nigel's first 8 minutes. This is fabulous, and we have so much more to come. I would like to know, because I am that person, right? I don't spend a lot of time in Meta. To me, that's kind of a playground, more of a personal playground. And my team basically handles that for me. But where I really love to hang, and I don't kind of outsource this, is my time in LinkedIn. I feel like nobody can connect in my name the way that I can connect, right? And so my time is very limited, like many of us. You talk about, when you're on a train or if you're in between something, go ahead and hop on to LinkedIn to essentially train LinkedIn on how to recognize you, what you are really all about. So in that way, in a lot of these other social platforms, you can just be all over the place, right? This short looks great. Is it important to stay pretty focused, because you're training LinkedIn and hopefully yourself to stay focused about what is truly valuable to you? Is it important about who you connect with, who you interact with? Um, talk a little bit about that, and I have a follow-up question about those in between times.
Yeah, sure. No, I think it's hugely important who you surround yourself with, probably in life as well as on LinkedIn. By Let's run back again to the early days of LinkedIn. We're not going to go right back to the beginning, but it was the commonly held belief that, oh, connect with everybody because, you never know who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. Well, if you take that to its nth degree, we become connected to the world and probably his dog. So that's not going to really suit us very well, is it? And particularly in more recent times, the people who were accepting of all connection requests, wherever they came from, just on the belief that size of network was a thing, I think they're now struggling and they're reflecting harshly on a decision they made quite some time ago that that may not be quite working for them in the way that they hoped. So, thankfully, from the very beginning of my time on LinkedIn back to 2007, I was more constrained, more particular, let's say, in who I allowed myself to be connected with and to. Because I use this phrase quite often, Antoniette. Um, I am a product of the people I surround myself with, and that makes me very special. I'm going to say that again. I am the product of the people I surround myself with, and that makes me very special. Now, I'm not special. What I'm saying there is the community of people I've added over the course of the last, approaching 20 years over LinkedIn is actually only around 8,500 connections large, which for somebody like me is actually a really small group of connections. I have about 12,500 followers, I think. I can't remember exactly. I don't track it like I'm, it's not a figure I like, oh, talk about this at dinner on a Friday night. That's not me. So what I've done is I've been very careful to add people who can add some value to my life, or I can add value to theirs. So it's a two-way vehicle. It's not all selfishly driven. But I have analysed those connection requests through a filter of, are they going to add value to my life? Can I learn from them? Are they active and engaged on LinkedIn? A key characteristic for me now, because I don't need numbers. I don't need to grow that network any larger than it is. And I regularly get people reaching out to connect with me, and they've got 12,000 connections. And I go, oh, that looks an interesting person. Until I look at their profile, I drop down to the activity and find that they haven't posted for 5 years. They don't comment on anybody else's, interesting uh, posts. Like, what's the point? What is the point of building connections for its own sake? LinkedIn has a ceiling of 30,000 connections. If I'd have wanted to boast 30,000 connections ceiling limit, I could have had that years ago, years and years ago. That was never a driver for me. My network is built on quality, not quantity. And I think that's an increasingly important
Mm.
metric. I'm an old guy, so I think anybody who's at the beginning of their careers, setting out on the journey of developing an authoritative personal brand, then be discerning about the people you allow yourself to connect with. Value the credibility of the strength of your personal brand. Don't think that just adding connections for its own sake is a powerful attribute, because it will not help you. In fact, I do believe it will even drag down and water down the net effect of your profile and your personal brand if you are not careful about who you connect with. Does that help?
This was fabulous and on many levels. I would like to talk about that. I'd like to camp here for just a second, because I was of that frame of mind in the beginning. Connect with everybody, right? The whole thing. And I spend now probably at least 15 hours. I'm sorry, 15 minutes, 15 hours, if only I had that kind of time, but 15 minutes a week actually unconnecting with people from my earlier days in LinkedIn. And it's not because they're not fabulous people and fabulous connections, but I've decided what I'm at LinkedIn for. And I decided what I'm not at LinkedIn for. So, for example, I'm an avid hiker. I love paddleboarding. I love the outdoors. I like the whole notion of van life, all of that. And so when I first came on, and I'm holistic living, natural wellness, all of those things. But professionally, I am a speaker agent, and uh, event producer, a podcast host, and I own an agency, right? So that's on my professional core.
Mm.
I've always thought, one human blend it all together. But what I have found is it muddies up my effectiveness on LinkedIn when I have all of that going on. So I'm slowly but surely relegating Instagram and other places for kind of more of my sideline love affairs, I guess, as far as hiking in the outdoors and holistic living and all of that good stuff, so that my LinkedIn profile, my feed, and my interactions, I don't have to sift through anything. I don't have to sift through ads coming in all different directions, or my news feed, right, being clogged up with all different kinds of things. When I spend that 10 discretionary minutes kind of in LinkedIn, it's going to be very targeted and effective, because the people I'm interacting with and talking about are in the speaking industry, in the thought leadership industry, and in those spaces. And so slowly but surely, I'm migrating um, to very, very focused use of LinkedIn. Am I overkill, or does that make some sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Th- Out of all the things that I train in relation to LinkedIn, this is probably one of the most difficult areas of the topic, but at the same time, probably the most interesting. And I'll explain it like this. If let's imagine we've got two scales. On the one end of the scale, we're totally corporate. Everything is business based, sharing knowledge, but it's all corporate and somewhat boring, perhaps. Over here, we've got that total person who shares nothing of interest corporately, and it's all about them and what they've done at the weekend and what they're having for breakfast. No, that's not right either. So either ends of these extremes will not work if we take it to the extremes. So what we have to figure out for ourselves based on our own, and I use this expression, tone of voice, is where do we fit comfortably on the scale of being starting from a corporate base, I would argue, because we're talking about a B2B business world here. But how far do we come along that curve of having a degree of personality in what we do in order now to be an attractive human being? Because if we stick to that totally corporate end, we will not be attractive. We will not be interesting, despite having the best content in the world. If we don't display it with some humility, some personal experience of how we've experienced life, then we're going to lose out. But equally, we don't want to be right over here sharing everything that goes on in our lives, because that's not going to serve us very well either. So where each of us should be on that curve, I cannot determine. Now, if you said, okay, Nigel, where am I on this curve? Well, I figure I'm about 80% of the towards the corporate end. But at that point, I'm still adding a degree of personality to my posts and to my content. I don't take myself too seriously. I give lots of advice away for free all the time. I try to be humble. I'd hate the thought that anybody would think me arrogant. And therefore, coming across with these personality traits that are the authentic me, I think is really, really important. I don't pretend to be what I'm not. I am who I am. And either you like me and you think we can work together and I can add value to your life, or we don't. And that's fine too. But I'm true to myself and to my own beliefs first and foremost. And then I create that personality on LinkedIn. And if we're public speakers and thought leaders, we're probably already good at this. We know where we are on this journey. But for those who are less experienced, we're probably still finding that tone of voice. That's fine. Test, try things, see what works, see what feels comfortable. See, when you get comments on posts coming back, do they feel like the right conversations you'd be having with friends? And if they match that criteria, then you know you're reaching the right tone of voice for how you should embrace LinkedIn as a tool to be your authentic self, but with a business to business focus coming first. So that would be my answer to that question, Antoniette. Does that help again? Does that explain where I'm coming from?
Absolutely, it did, and it's actually placed in my vernacular some additional questions for you. So my first, I have a two-part question. My first part of my question is, in those 10 minutes of discretionary time, what is the best use of my time? Is it liking and sharing? Is it interacting in the comments? Is it asking for more connections? So that's the first part of my question. The second part of my question is with regards to who you connect with. How do I, as a speaker, connect with those kinds of people who are going to move the dial, help move who I can network and interact with and be of value to, but whom, also that connection is valuable. Let's say I'm a speaker who likes to speak to universities, or I'm a speaker in manufacturing, right? Just a two-part question there.
Okay, so there's so many strands to that, but let me start with the answer to the second part first. Optimizing your profile will embrace some of the underpinning strategies that will make you successful. So, for example, using your example, if in your about section you talk about, in my public speaking role, I'm frequently found talking at universities and in education sector. Then you're defining both for the algorithm and for people looking in at you what it is you do. So that's a critical part of that path. The next part will be to find out where the people of authority for making decisions about purchasing your services, for example, where do they hang out? What groups might they be in on LinkedIn? What content are they engaging with? Looking at other people's content who share similar experiences as you will help you find communities of interest where people are already, at that bar talking about that topic. You've just got to use some intuition and start utilizing the platform in order to find where those communities are hanging out. Now, in order to do that, you might start with an existing customer. What is it my existing customer is saying about themselves on their LinkedIn profile that, for example, I could reverse engineer in a search on LinkedIn and potentially on Google to find more of the same. So if there are characteristics about your existing clients with whom you have already success, then why not use the vocabulary, the phrases, the elements of what they're talking about in order to reverse that and search for it and find more people who are doing this, and then embracing yourselves inside those communities will have an organically powerful strength on something that happens on a journey of LinkedIn. In an early part of the journey, say you're young or you're new to LinkedIn, the journey is about outreach, and it's about what you might call an outbound strategy. So we're reaching out, we're trying to find people, we're looking for growing audiences of that type. There comes a point on that journey where having built that inertia, that momentum with the right audiences and the right people, the right connections, the algorithms kind of kick in and take over that. And now you have the opposite happening. People are wanting to connect and reach out and be in your tribe because you're an interesting person. You've got the experience. You're demonstrating knowledge. I like what you do. I like how you come across. I like your ethics and your values. I want to know you. And before you've gone too far down the journey, the endeavor moves from outbound, where you're trying to find the audience, to inbound, they're wanting to be part of you. So I just mentioned that as a part of the strategy, Antoniette, because it's a really important thing to understand that if you're in the early part of that journey, you might expect to be doing more outreach. But if you're on the latter parts and you've massaged that strategy over a while, then you can expect to be having more inbound opportunities, coming your way. So that's a really important thing to know about that. Now, what was your first question? It was about uh,
The
connections
utilization of
also.
your 10, yeah, that utilization of that maybe 10 or 15 minutes that you have throughout the day, where is your energy best
That's right.
utilized?
Yeah.
Liking,
Where,
sharing,
where should we spend
commenting.
that time? Okay. In fact, I'm going to be producing a document. In fact, it's coming out tomorrow, possibly, or Wednesday, on this very topic, actually, which is quite interesting. And I'm going to be sharing the things that you can do. It's going to be a little bit more richer and deeper than what you've just described. It's going to tell you what are the things I might do every day on LinkedIn. What are the things I might do weekly, monthly, quarterly? So look out for that. That should be quite interesting. But if I had 10 minutes a
Nice.
day, my time is really tight. Then what would I do? Well, first of all, I would look at notifications that are coming through from LinkedIn because they almost drive my day. To be frank, if I'm active and engaged on content, both interacting with other people's content and potentially producing my own, then the interaction alone on that content can almost drive my 10 minutes out really, really powerfully because it's things I'm interested in.
Mm.
I'm being LinkedIn is notifying me on the things I've commented on, engaged with, and I'm getting more of the same. I'm meeting more interesting people. So probably notifications is the most powerful place if you've got activity happening on LinkedIn. Beyond that, I will be looking at my homepage feed. What new material is coming there that I can engage with? So I will take a scroll down the page. I'll instinctively after a while you become familiar with what's interesting and what's not. And then if I find something interesting, I would positively engage by commenting on that post. That is the most powerful thing you can do. Commenting on a post, it feeds the algorithms with knowledge about what you're interested in. It pays tribute to the author of that content that you've enjoyed it. You've got something to add to that content. A brilliant place to add your own experiences, initiatives, and then people are looking at you. So if other people comment on posts that I've commented on, LinkedIn will often say, "Hey, Antoniette has commented on a post you've commented on. You might like to go and check out her comment." I think, "Oh, what has that person said on this post that I'm already interested in?" And you're being introduced to new people on that journey just by commenting. So the commenting is the most powerful thing you can do. A like is good. A reaction, one of the 5 choices of the reaction types we have is good if you're rushing. There's not a lot of time. You just want to kind of pay a small tribute to something that you've enjoyed or has made you think. There's the insight icon. Um, you, there's things like that we can do. But if I was going to be trying to do this strategically with the minimum amount of time, probably notifications and engagement on those important people's posts, my target customers of the future, perhaps industry related content, industry around my skill set. Would be the things I would do in those few minutes. There's a sort of short answer to answer the question really clearly about what I do in 10 minutes. Beyond that, of
Well,
course, it would take a little bit longer for me each week to craft my posts and all sorts of things. So yeah,
that's really fabulous, Nigel, because that goes back to what you're actually doing on LinkedIn. Like, are you interacting in a way that's building your brand and making the kinds of connections related to your brand? If so, that's what's going to be in your notification feed. If you're just kind of all over
yes,
the place and not very focused, then those notifications are going to be all over the place. And I don't feel like that's going to be the best use of your time in LinkedIn if you're utilizing it really to move the dial and get you to that next milestone on a professional level. So
yeah,
I also love your comment about commenting on posts. So powerful. I think that that is something that I have read anyway. I'm just wondering if you have as well, that the LinkedIn algorithms and just kind of infrastructure prioritizes that commenting area more than anything else. Is that anything that you've come across? I've just read it. I'm not an expert in
yeah.
LinkedIn,
I
but I've
honestly
also kind
believe
of built.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to cut across you. I do believe that is the case, Antoniette, because um, a lot of people default to the notion, as shared by a lot of experts on LinkedIn, who say, "Oh, you've got to be posting on LinkedIn every day. You've got to be out." And I'm thinking, okay, how can I possibly post? I don't have the time nor the inspiration to post every day on LinkedIn, and also at the same time keep up with the comments that are being made by people kind enough to comment inside my posts. So imagine that one of my posts even has 50 comments. I reply to every single one of those comments that people are kind enough to make on my post. That takes a lot of time, but the beauty of that is it opens up multiple conversations with my audience for today or that of tomorrow. When I see somebody new commenting on my post, a second degree connection, a third degree connection, it allows me an opportunity to, if they fit my ideal client characteristic, then I will send them a personal message connection request. Hey, Antoniette, thank you ever so much for commenting on my post. I took a look at your profile. It seems like we have a lot of interesting things in common. I'd be honoured to be a connection. Have a great day. Best wishes, Nigel. 300 character limit. That's
Yeah,
all we've got.
fabulous.
At that point, the only objective of that message within that connection request is to get that connection acceptance over the line. That's all its job. It's not there to sell, it's not there to pitch, it's not there to tell you about what I do. It's just to build the early part of a relationship, which allows me to get one step on the ladder of building trust in order that down the line on this ladder we may do business. But if you go for the hard sell on the opening
Yes.
line, you've killed it. So it's about building trust, and then developing a relationship. Going back to the part we mentioned earlier, Antoniette, I don't need connections. I don't want connections. I love relationships. Okay, there's a huge difference.
Mm,
A huge difference. And I could probably minimize my connections from 8,000 to 800 and nurture that audience. And it will probably, if I'd got the energy and the time and the strategy to do it, it would probably serve me better than adding more and more connections. So building relationships is the
mhm.
key, not because necessarily they will be a client, but do you know what? So often my wonderful opportunities come from people who've referred me and said, "Oh, to talk about LinkedIn,
Referrals,
yeah, I can't
yeah.
get this LinkedIn to work. Do you know Nigel Cliffe? No, never. Oh, do you know what? Nigel shares some great stuff. You want to check him out? What's not to love? If you're doing this powerfully and well, you become an ambassador for referralship. So it goes way beyond the number of connections you have. It goes to all their second degree connections, which is a huge audience of outreach potential. So that's why staying consistent on LinkedIn regularly with value, with substance, with experience, is, I believe, the strategy of the future. It's not about automated content. It's not about automated messages or connection building. I hate that stuff. I'm out there. I detest the thought that we can automate relationship building on LinkedIn. That's not how we roll. None of us do. Yet it's so rife on LinkedIn. So I stand against keep it authentic on LinkedIn, keep it personal. Don't let automation kill this platform for us. So, I want a soapbox now. I want to roll.
Well, this is incredible. That was the price of admission right there. And the price of admission here on Speak Pact is the utilization of your precious time, right? Which those who stuck around with us, that was worth everything right there, Nigel. Quality over quantity. That's what is going to really move the needle and create these fabulous opportunities and connections. And the whole building trust and building relationships, that's far more valuable than utilizing AI or whatever it is out there to just punch out content that really doesn't honestly have your heart or you behind it. It's kind of like, it's so often I will unfollow somebody who is, it's kind of, if you ever gone on a date and somebody's just moving too fast too soon, right? Do you want a
Yeah,
French kiss on the first day? Well, hold on. Whoa, wait a minute. Let me get to know
yeah,
you a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit. Let me see what's going on here. The same as these relationships that we're building in the socials. And
Exactly.
certainly the arguably best social network for professional development, LinkedIn, it's a symphony, right? It's a step-by-step journey. You're not just diving in for the kill. Hey, my name is Jack Frost, and do you want to buy my thing? Right? Unfollow. Versus,
Yeah.
hey, I'm Nigel Cliffe. I see I was attracted by your profile. Well done. Well done. Whatever it might be, and you
Yeah.
begin building that relationship. Maybe even give me a pointer, if you don't mind. I happen to specialize in LinkedIn. I see that you're looking off instead of straight in on your profile picture. That's just something you might be able to do to up engagement, just whatever little thing as we build a relationship. I'm just like, wow, Nigel, that was really helpful. Thank you for sharing that with me. And that relationship begins to build into a go-giver where, yes, your biggest ambassadors and referrals, and connections can come from. So huge piece of tip there. Whereas other networks might be the number of connections you can make, any connections, right? LinkedIn is way more focused, quality over quantity. That was a huge piece of advice right there. Thank you for that. What would you say? I'm going to have one question and then I want to learn a little bit more about you. What would you say is your number one best, most important tip for an emerging speaker? Maybe they're really well known in their field, a CEO, a former football player, whatever it might be, or just someone who's had some accomplishments in their profession and now they really want to get their voices out there and begin attracting some speaking engagements. What is a good utilization of LinkedIn for them to grow a speaking career?
I think the one most valuable thing that people can do to help themselves and their audience would be to spend some time reconsidering their about section on LinkedIn. It acts like your mini search engine. The content, the phrases, the words in there will help resonate both with people and with the audiences you're trying to serve through human interaction and algorithmic reference. So, what do I mean? I mean, tell me about yourself. This is not a pitch for the business, not for what you're trying to sell here. This is tell me a little bit about your journey. Tell me what you've experienced. Tell me about the customers you've worked with and those you're looking for in the future. Include a call to action on the about section. Hey, I'm interested. What do I do next? People say, please get in touch. Well, if we're not first degree connections, I don't know how to get in touch because I can't see your contact details. So put your contact details in the about section. Make it clear what you want to talk about. That helps narrow the audience down to the right inquiry, and give them the ways that they can get hold of you. Your website, your LinkedIn, obviously on LinkedIn, your website address, your email address, your telephone number. Why not? I want to be contacted by the audience. I don't want to put friction in that journey. Now we've got 2,600 characters to maximize, and that includes the spaces on the about section. I say utilize the whole lot. Leave no stone unturned in helping the algorithm understand you and people understand your value. And what you find, Antonia, is if you look at most people's about section, they do not deliver on that benefit. That they fail hugely on all of what I've just described. So if there was one thing to do, and it's not a 2 minute job to do it well, but the one thing I would suggest they do is go away and really consider how they can up the value of how they talk about themselves. Is it clear to somebody how you can help me? Is the call to action clear? Is it easy to get hold of me? And the rest begins to fall into place. That's just one thing you can take away to do.
Fabulous. Okay, so if somebody doesn't want to tackle that on their own, is that something you help people with? And how can they get a hold of that LinkedIn guide that you're putting together? And aside from LinkedIn, is there somewhere else where people can find you?
Well, my website is linkedintraining.co.uk. So that's linkedintraining.co.uk. That's pretty straightforward. Of course, I'm all over LinkedIn, so you can find me there, Nigel Cliffe on LinkedIn. And those are the two places really to find me. I'm pretty easily findable. A quick Google of me, I think I come up fairly highly on Google. I sometimes compete with an opera singer, but I think you'll be able to distinguish me between me and him. No,
Well,
thank you
that
for
speaks
asking.
a lot to the yeah, that speaks a lot to the fact that you practice what you preach, right? You've got your website, but a real area of connection with you is on LinkedIn. And I just want to say for those who are listening, maybe not viewing this interview or might be out and about as they listen, Cliff, so Nigel's pretty straightforward. Nigel. Cliff is Cliffe. So Cliff, normal with the E at the end. Yeah. So look him up. Definitely connect. Okay, as we wrap it up, there's so many more questions I have for you, but we're gonna stay true to time and start wrapping with our signature question. This is Speak Pact, and together we with the Speak Pact audience, you and me with the Speak Pact audience, want to enter into a pact to make an even greater impact in the areas that we're entrusted to. How can we best utilize LinkedIn? What are some tactical things that we can do, even just one daily thing we might be able to do, where we can really accelerate that impact through the power of our voice? And when I say our voice, the things, whether it's written or verbalized, some of the power of our message.
I think it goes back to something I've already shared, and that would be finding people who are talking about your area of expertise and commenting and being a part of those tribes. Be in those communities that are talking about your topic, where both, if you like, buyer and seller, to not, I don't like that expression, but both parties are engaged in those conversations. So finding those audiences and being engaged in those tribes of influence is the most powerful thing you can do.
That's a quick question I have for you as we close out, because I think that's such an underutilized area of LinkedIn. I'm subscribed to a bunch of newsletters. I've joined a lot of the different communities, but that's something I need to go back in, weed out, and actually get involved. A little bit more interactive with some of the newsletters and more interactive within some of these communities. How do you
Mm.
hone in on the communities that you're really going to invest yourself into? Because it's a go give, right? It's not just go in there and take.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
want to give as well.
Absolutely, it's about giving before getting. It's Stephen Covey's one of his 7 habits is put in before you take out kind of principle, and that's very true of LinkedIn. You can't expect to take something from anybody before you've contributed some value. So the very nature of a strategy on LinkedIn should be add value first, in order that you can ask for a small ask. So it really is about sort of investing in that community. One powerful thing that I find, and it's not unique to LinkedIn, is but the value of having relationships with competitors, and I suspect this is the same in the speaker circuit, would be to embrace relationships with your fellow speakers, because they are connected to the communities that you will inevitably find valuable to you too. And also when sharing value and knowledge, there is no better way of doing that than to be commenting and adding value on a post that somebody else is talking about your subject matter, where you can add a perspective. Hey, those are really super points you made there, Antoniette. Did you consider this when you were creating that list of things that you've just shared? I often find that is of value to my audience. Blah 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 blah. And somebody goes, that was interesting. You're adding you're crediting the author of the original content by commenting on that person's post. Tick. You're showing and demonstrating your knowledge, opening your wisdom to a whole new audience. Tick. There's no downside to this. So I think this is why we haven't gone into that in detail, but be willing and open to connect to industry people that have already cut the mustard. Is hanging on their shirt tails at the early part of that career, it is a great attribute. Over time, you become the people that they want to follow when you do this correctly.
That was a fabulous piece of advice. I love that we're wrapping with that. I'm actually co-founder of Booking Agents Connect, and you would think this is, speaking industry is very highly competitive, right? Industry, and you would think it'd be a bit counterproductive. As a matter of fact, as many invitations, it's free, right? But as many invitations that I sent out to other agents, bureaus, speaking bookers, um, for every maybe five, I'll get three no thank yous. Like they're just afraid, right, that somebody's going to steal some of their I don't know, clients or something. And it always kind of hurts my heart because they don't get it. They don't
Yeah,
see the value in really linking in and connecting with peers.
yeah.
Yeah, really, really good
If you
one.
want to see how this, if you want an example of how this works, just check out my LinkedIn profile and any of my posts. You will see a number of internationally renowned LinkedIn speakers contributing their thoughts, their skills, their experience, their knowledge to my content, and I do the same on theirs. And you may have heard of an expression: a rising tide lifts all boats. And that's what happens. We all benefit, we all gain from that experience of contributing to each other's material. So finding those tribes, as I keep coming back to that expression, where people are hanging out, talking about your content, is the most powerful piece of a strategy you can do to start being influential in that world as well. Otherwise, you're out on a different ocean. You're not playing where the cool guys are. You're trying to paddle in a small boat somewhere in your own little pond. That's not how it works. I strongly believe, but some people find that a difficult concept to grasp. I do know that.
Well, that was a powerful way to wrap. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that to the table. And Nigel, thank you for your time today. It has been incredibly insightful. If our listeners just take even just a few of the pieces of strategies that you've shared with today, I think that they will see measurable difference in some of the results of their return on energy, right? Their ROE. So I so appreciate you bringing your expertise to our table today and being part of our world.
Thank you for having me.
All
It's been
right.
an
And
absolute
so
pleasure.
you're welcome. Um, For now, we're going to say ciao ciao to our Speak Packed audience, and definitely same place, same channel. Come back to speakpack.com anytime. The greatest gift that you can give Nigel and me for the time we spent with you today is give those likes, do the shares, do all the things, because that's what helps get this content, this information seen by those who are really looking for those strategies that they deeply desire to grow their speaking career. So thank you for being with us today, and ciao ciao for now.